Lovely, thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Education Skills Service Transformation Committee on the 9th of April. Welcome to sunny Swansea. Welcome to everyone in the room here and online. No need for introductions. We'll dive straight in to the agenda. Number one, apologies for absence.
If he doesn't turn up, Chair, from Councillor Robert Smith.
Right, okay, yeah, I did hear that he's not very well today, so I hope he's okay. Number two, disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Do we have any? No, some shaking heads. Moving on to number three, very swiftly. Page number 1 of the minutes. Page number 2. And page number 3, if you were all content, people who were at the last meeting, for me to approve and sign the minutes. Please, can you indicate? Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you very much, everyone. I see the hands and nods. Thank you. Okay, so we swiftly move on to item number 4, policy on the principles to promote learning. Can I ask Rodri if he would want to introduce this agenda item?
Happy to go straight to Di in the room if he's with you, Chair.
There we are. Okay, thank you, Rodri. Di, is that okay?
Absolutely fine. Thank you, Chair. Just checking you can all hear me. You can see Bev. Give me a nod, Bev. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Chair. Obviously, you'll note, first of all, from the report that there's a name change from principles of progression to principles to promote learning, and that's feedback from practitioners and broader than that. And it was just too closely aligned to Welsh Government, to a piece of Welsh Government guidance in terms of principles of progression. So we changed it to reflect that. And what the ask is today, that committee consider the wider stakeholder that's outlined in the report, and that the refined draft policy is considered and approved for next stage. So hopefully everybody's had the opportunity to read through the report, and I'm just going to highlight, Chair, some of the significant changes that have been made further to that stakeholder engagement. And I'm straight on down to the stakeholder feedback itself. And overall, there was broad support for the paper itself, for the principles of progression, as it was known, and principles of to promote learning as it is now. I think probably the previous name caused some confusion about what its intent was. So what we've tried to do is to articulate more clearly that this is a distinctive policy that reflects as how educators in Swansea see it, and that it'll have a more practical application, and so those expectations can be made more clearer through the guidance. Point 3.3, some words we used initially were environment of excellence and independence. So what we've done is we've made more references, more specific references, for example, to the progress of individual learners with additional learning needs, for example, and we've referenced enabling learning guidance, which is a key piece of Welsh Government documentation supported by the local authority and Welsh Government in terms of professional learning. So we've made that clearer in the revised draft report. And then practitioners asked that we express the need for the final document to be slightly more practitioner friendly. So we are going to have more clear guidance, actionable guidance that sits beneath this, that has some worked examples and case studies. So whilst this policy will sit as it is, then what we're going to do is, through the curriculum learning and teaching team, provide some practical examples and further outline effective practice case studies, as we've already do through our primary and head teacher networks. So of course, you can see that those amendments have been made, significantly the title, and the final version aims to achieve those more meaningful local spin. So the words environment of excellence has been refined further to reflect more clearly what we mean by high expectations and mutual respect with a culture of curiosity. And in response to some of the feedback, we've further bolstered the inclusive language has been strengthened. So I've mentioned earlier on references to pupils with additional learning needs. Again, 4.4, makes explicit reference to the enabling learning framework and guidance that's in Welsh Government's hub, which provides a framework for enabling adults and a number of other items around high quality teaching and learning. And then the role of assessment has again been further reinforced through the document. So with a clearer emphasis on the formative nature and purpose of assessment. So that and made it clear that assessment should inform future teaching. So practitioner feedback said that that would be useful. And where we can appropriately, obviously, that we include information that supports governance arrangements around the evaluation of the quality of teaching and learning. And then what's next? So what are the post-adoption opportunities? So obviously some continued development work, as I've before mentioned, but from our perspective, the creation of some practical tools and case studies that support the implementation of this policy. And the reiteration that this policy are a set of principles and that in itself, it doesn't direct a school to do certain things or to undertake certain activities that we might see that would be in an individual school's teaching and learning policy. They are principles to support the development of those specific items at a school level. And what we'll do is we'll provide some practical support through case studies and through the curriculum learning and teaching team with some professional learning that would support that too. And practitioners have asked for us to provide some templates and snapshots of effective approaches, and that will go hand in hand with those case studies and or pardon me, the professional learning offer. And again, you know, the scope for those professional learning opportunities to consider and unpick further complex items, for example, independence. It's not possible in a policy such as this to outline what that looks like in every school and setting across the piece. So we'd want to unpick that in a more practical guide. And also metacognition is another term that's used in the document that we need to provide further support and guidance, but again, would need to be done in a sensible way through case studies. And then again, I've mentioned formative assessment, so addressing those misconceptions promptly. But we've bolstered the policy so that it makes explicit reference to the ipsative approach to the tracking of individual learners over time. And then finally, sort of further links then to existing policy frameworks, so such as the school improvement framework that's due to be revised by Welsh Government and other frameworks that sit within Welsh Government guidance. And hopefully we've managed to remove the confusion, if any, between the principles of progression that exist as a guidance and policy with Welsh Government to the Swansea's set of principles for I keep saying the old one, for principles to promote learning, Chair. So that's the end of the report, and happy to take any questions from the committee.
Thank you, Di. Anyone indicating? So as you ponder, committee members, there's a couple of little things that I'd mentioned. Picked up a few typos in there, right? Minor typos. I haven't had a chance to sort of write colons missing and semicolons in where they shouldn't be. That sort of minor things, a few little letters. One thing that the little note that I put in here, I always used to say about teachers, you know, and acronyms and abbreviations and complicated words, you know. It's something that's in education, isn't it? But I think about spelling out in a little bit more detail, formative and summative, to make it understandable for a wider audience, you know, so people are very clear about sort of looking back and looking forward and that sort of balance. The word ipsative, I don't know whether I've ever heard ipsative in any other context other than this ipsative assessment. So are we talking about distance travelled? If we're talking about distance travel, you know, in education in Swansea, we have used that phrase, you know, quite often, distance travelled. So we're looking at the child today and seeing how she progresses over time. But those are some of the just initial comments from me. And as I look at the screen here, I can see some hands are up. So can I ask Councillor Lyndon Jones, please? Lyndon?
Great, thanks, Chair. You know, David, good report. Are we going to see the examples of the case studies at some point?
Yeah, hi Lyndon, good question and thanks for that. We absolutely, as desired, at the forum by which you see that, I'm open to that if it needs to come here. By no means is that an article that I can present to you now. This is going to be an ongoing process. You know, I've mentioned the curriculum and teaching team. So there's already some work that I can present to you on how we're developing the support of independence, for example, through one piece of professional learning. But absolutely, we're more than happy to bring that to this group if that's a requirement.
Thanks, Lyndon. Whether it comes back here or not, perhaps we could share some examples as we go. Can I just say that I have seen some examples in my role on governing bodies. I saw some really innovative stuff this week in a primary school, which was really, really exciting. And I think what it enabled me to see was the difference between the policy and the theory, really drilling down into the actual practice and what success looks like for the individual child and the individual family. So, and I'm not going to mention it, but people from the school improvement team been very specific about saying, look, so Mrs. Williams, this is where your daughter is today. And what we'd like you to do now is to focus on A, B and C in order for her to go to the next level. And then Mrs. Williams goes away and focuses on that. And the child goes from amber to green. It's really tight, Lyndon. And I think we could maybe have one or two examples of that sort of thing shared for members of the committee outside the committee. I wouldn't have thought we need to be brought here. Is that okay, Lyndon?
No, that's fine. Thank you. It'd be interesting to see actually how that put into actual practice. Yeah, great. Thank you, and thank you, David.
Councillor Sandra Joy. Sandra.
Yeah, hi. I was really impressed reading through it into, as a sort of ex-educationalist. It's one of those policies that only works when you've got the engagement of all of those stakeholders, particularly the head teachers and their teams. And I can see that you have obviously worked with them and spoken with them. You've acted on their suggestions and their comments, and I can see that the changes that have been made. Have you yet been back to them even informally to say this is what I've updated so far?
Yeah, hi Sandra, thanks for that. Yeah, we've got a group called the School Improvement Partnership. You can understand that if we went to 94 representative head teachers at every time we made a change, we'd probably get there in 326. But where we're at is we've taken it to that group. They provided us with some feedback since and we've taken that on board. So that School Improvement Partnership is the group that we're going to use as the conduit to feed information such as this, and also to share, as we've discussed now, those case studies and examples. So that's the group that continue to monitor the effectiveness of this policy from our perspective.
Thank you. That makes sense, because that's what I was wondering is, would it say bounce to them and then bounce back to us again? And it doesn't sound like it's going to need to, because as you say, they are obviously engaged with this, aren't they?
Yeah, thanks. We did have some feedback that they would have liked further engagement, but sometimes people miss things. So we took the opportunity then to bring it back to SIP, and then we had that feedback at that opportunity, which was a few weeks ago. So yeah, that's that group that we're going to use, as I said, as the conduit to feed that information up and down in terms of this item.
Lovely, thank you.
I can't see anyone else indicating at the moment. For me, please indicate as I speak, but this practical frontline facing ethos of this comes through very clearly here. I think in 5.2 onwards, that we are looking at really drilling into the realities and then monitoring the progress with practical tools. At 5.5 we see school ownership and control. Really, these ongoing actions will ensure that the principles not only reflect local priorities but also empower schools to embed them effectively and sustainably. And I think that is just genuinely very exciting and meaningful for children, for their families, for carers and parents. Okay, committee members, are we go? Oh, sorry, Fiona. Councillor Gordon.
That's okay, thanks. I was just going to say, yeah, I agree. It's a really useful report, and the refinements are really good and appropriate. I just wanted to mention that metacognition is really important for children to understand their learning, and also ipsative assessment is key, really, as in against oneself. How much you've moved on against your individual baseline and your own potential and so on. So I think they're really useful to put in, but perhaps just some sort of explanation after them would be helpful as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. Okay, colleagues, are we content? I think we are. Yes, lovely, thank you. So can I thank you, Di, very much indeed for the work that's gone in by you and the team consistently throughout the year. And we're not underestimating the amount of work that's gone in here, and the commitment and focus has been steady and firm all the way through, which has resulted with us having a very robust report before us today. So can I ask whether we are content with the recommendations on page 1 of the report? The committee consider the wider stakeholder views expressed since drafting the policy, and number 2, the refined draft policy is considered and recommended to Cabinet for approval. I think it's fair to say that we're all content. Can you indicate, please? Nodding of heads, hands, shake. Anybody with anything, disagreement, any? No, we're all good. Great, lovely. Thank you all very much indeed. So we can move on to agenda item number 5. So that's pages 26 to 32. And this is the Education and Skills Service Transformation Committee Annual Report 2024. Helen, do you want to introduce this?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, happy to endorse really what's written in the report. It does crystallise the work of the committee across the municipal year, and it's really robust in terms of the product. I think our terms of reference within this committee indicate that a product is required at the end, and it's pleasing to see that the individual reports not only have had a smooth passage onto Cabinet, but the culmination of the work of this committee will eventually be reported to full council. So I'm really grateful for the work of the committee, the involvement of the officers, and I just want to commend the report and Sarah as author of the report to pulling it all together in partnership with Gareth sitting by your side.
Thank you very much, Helen. Committee members, any comments, any thoughts, any questions? No one indicating? Not in the room. Mike, content? All right. Yeah. Okay. So it's a fair assessment. I think that it's a very well put together report. I'm looking at Sarah in the room here. It reflects what I think has been a very robust series of meetings throughout the year. And from my point of view, I think the cycle of meetings have worked very well. The alternate approach that we've taken has worked very well. Hopefully that's given officers more time than they had previously to do the work required. And we've ended up, as Helen says, absolutely with a very robust set of products at the end. Very meaningful and very practically based, but informed by a very wide range of stakeholders, practitioners in schools, and many multi-agency representatives as well. So on that point, can I ask whether we are content with the recommendation that the draft report be approved and referred to council? Are we content, committee members? Thank you, Mike, in the room. Thank you, everyone else. We're all happy. It's the sunshine, isn't it? That's what's happening here. We're all happy because it's sunny. Okay, so we come to the next item on the agenda, which is the work plan. And of course, we are right up at the end of the municipal year. It's the 9th of April, and we've completed every item of the work plan. So there's nothing else for me to say other than to thank, as Helen said, Gareth and other colleagues from Democratic Services, our legal officers, education colleagues, Helen, the head of service, everybody. Together, our combined effort, I think, has made this a very successful year for the Service Transformation Committee, with very clear next steps. And that is only going to help to transform the learning experience of children, approaching 40,000 of them in our 94 Swansea schools. So thank you all committee members for your dedication, commitment, attendance and enthusiasm in what I think is such an important future focused area of work for the local authority. Thank you everyone, and on that point I will close the meeting. Thanks everyone.